Okay, so yesterday was the end of NFL Week 6, and this was a week where quite a few trends were broken. Just like in some specific games, which of course I will get to here in a bit, I was like, oh yeah, in this game, like this is something that had been like consistent throughout the season. Well, never mind. This has been something throughout the season. Well, never mind. Even for me, I lost my streak of not falling below 500. Oh, I don't know if you can hear the vacuuming going on. I'm going to close my door, so hopefully it's a little bit cooler. Anyways, this is the first week I went below 500. I think I went 6-9. Did not have a great week picking games. I will own that. I want to own that. If I'm right, I want to revel in being right. And if I'm wrong, then I have to own being wrong. But at the very least, I got the first game right when the Chiefs beat the Broncos 19-8. And it was like so close to being a scoregami. I don't know if 19-0 would have been scoregami, but there's only been one game in NFL history prior to this one that was 19-8. Because the entire time, like, I didn't find the game that fun to watch. It was okay. I think the Broncos like had a pretty good first drive that ended on a failed fourth down. I don't remember if they were quite inside the red zone. They might have been around like the 25, the 27 of the Chiefs, like something like that. But they had a good drive, and then like they couldn't get shit done for most of the rest of the game. The Chiefs weren't exactly dominant, but they were able to score. They were able to get field goals done. I remember this one play where Mahomes is like about to get sacked, and he just throws the ball up to get rid of it, and then it gets picked off like in the end zone. It's like, probably wasn't a good decision, dude. But I mean, I'm not really gonna question Patrick Mahomes. I mean, some of those throws against the Jets were pretty fucking bad, but even his bad throws still look better than anything I could fucking do. But we were so close to a scoregami, and it could have given like something from this game. And the one thing that I really do take from this game, though, I guess there's two things. Number one, despite tweaking his ankle against the Vikings, Travis Kelce looked perfectly fine. I don't know. Maybe he saw. I know he and Aaron Rodgers have some different beliefs, like on vaccines and medicine and shit. But maybe they have the same doctor because Aaron Rodgers is looking a lot better after that Achilles snap, and Kelce, he kept doing what he needed to do against the Vikings and here against the Broncos. The Broncos remind me a lot of bad Saints teams. And the reason I bring that up is not just because Sean Payton is the head coach, but in those bad seasons, like the 7 and 9 years specifically, there would be a lot of games where the Saints offense would play lights out football and the defense would be dog shit. And I mean, hell, even in a lot of the Saints' good seasons, that would be what fucking happened. But there would be a lot of games where sometimes the defense would actually step up. Now, maybe it was because the opposing offense was also playing terribly. But it'd be like, hold on a second. Our defense is actually keeping us in this. We have a chance to win, and the offense can't get anything going. It might be a day where there's just a lot of turnovers, where it was a lot of field goals instead of touchdowns. Like, you can move the ball, but you can't actually get into field goal range. Kind of weird days. The Broncos are very similar to that. Week 1, defense played well, which granted, they were playing the Raiders, and I think the Raiders scoring 21 points this week, including a safety, is the most they've scored all season. So, I mean, it's not as impressive in hindsight, and honestly, it wasn't, like, super impressive at the time. It was still the Jimmy G-led Raiders. But regardless, the defense played well that day. The Broncos' offense couldn't score more than 16. Then the next week, which I believe that was the Commies, 33 points scored on offense, 35 given up on defense. This week, they were able to limit the Chiefs to 19 points. It was like one touchdown and a bunch of field goals. Offense could never fucking get going. I feel like they're... I'm trying to remember. Oh, and then, the shit that happened in Miami. Okay, like that was kind of a complete failure on both sides of the ball, which, yeah, sometimes that would happen with bad Saints teams too. I mean, I can't say they gave up 31 against the Jets because at least one of those was a defensive touchdown. So I mean, that's also on the offense. But wait, was it 31 or 34? Was that game? It was either 31-21 or it was 34-24. I don't remember which. But regardless, this was a game where the Broncos defense actually stepped up and played pretty well, but the offense couldn't capitalize. And this is the second offensive coach in a row that Russell Wilson has had in Denver. And we're seeing what Hackett has done with Aaron Rodgers, which granted, it's Aaron Rodgers. The guy's a fucking MVP before and after Hackett. Well, I mean, he wasn't after Hackett, but I mean, you know what I mean? Aaron Rodgers didn't need Nathaniel Hackett to be elite. But even now, Zach Wilson isn't looking phenomenal, but Zach Wilson's looking a lot better in Nathaniel Hackett's system. Now that there's been more time and, more pieces, he's getting comfortable. And it's not like getting rid of Hackett made the Broncos look better. Is the problem Russell Wilson? There was a whole thing when he was in Seattle. It was, let Russ cook. The play calling is so bad. Russ is basically doing his own shit. And it's like, maybe that's always been the problem. I'm not really sure, but I'm like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, is Russ playing himself out of the Hall of Fame? I'm not going to jump the gun on that yet, but he looks bad. I can't even say that because he has had a few games this year where he's actually looked pretty good. It would just be the defense letting him down, but this was not a good look. Almost all of last year was a terrible look, and even in the good games he's played, he hasn't looked like, damn, this is Russell Wilson, this is elite. Besides maybe a few throws here and there, I'm just like, man, this is disappointing to watch. I loved watching Russell Wilson play football. I was really excited that he was going to go to Denver. This team for so many years were just a quarterback away. And now they got him and they're still a quarterback away. But good win for the Chiefs. Another win in the division, just keeping their stranglehold on the AFC West. 16-0 the last 16 games against the Broncos. Mahomes has not lost to Denver in his career. That's fucking crazy. So good for them. The next one was Baltimore beating Tennessee 24. Is it 24? 24-16 in London. I had Justin Tucker on my bench because I had him and I have Jake Elliott, and Elliott had been outperforming Tucker the past few weeks. So I had Elliott playing last week, and he did great. So it's okay, I'm going to keep Elliott in the game. And then Justin Tucker kicked 6 field goals and had they had 19 points in fantasy, which for a kicker is fan-fucking-tastic. It's of course, the game where Justin Tucker goes off is when he's on my bench. Just do you, dude. There was a part in this, halfway through the game. That's a weird way of just saying at halftime. But at halftime, the score was 18-3. Okay, 15 points. That's still a 2-score game. The Titans aren't out of this yet. They're not playing very well. They're not out of this yet. Then there was this big momentum swing. Derrick Henry scores a touchdown. The Titans ended up getting the ball back. They were, I think, around the 40 or so. It was first down, second down. I think it was second and mid or so. I'm oh man. Because at that point it was what? 10, 18? Yeah, I think it was 18-10. That sounds about right. Maybe the Ravens didn't have that many points. But it was something where it's the Titans can go if they score again. The deficit is going to get cut substantially. Maybe they can actually tie the game. This is a big momentum swing, and then Tannehill throws an interception. I remember watching the game unfold. Yeah, I wasn't able to watch it. It's on NFL Plus, which unfortunately I don't have. But I'm kind of following the game as it's happening. I'm oh man, interesting shit is happening. The Ravens are ravening. They've been doing that a lot this year, and the Titans tightened. Is what it is. Which, I will say, the Chiefs keeping their undefeated streak against the Broncos was not a streak that got broken this week, but one that did was the Titans. Because the Titans, odd week they lose, even week they win. This was an even week and they lost. And honestly, that was a big reason I picked Tennessee. It was like, hey man, until this is proven wrong, I'm going to roll with it. And it was proven wrong, so now I basically have no reason to pick the Titans the rest of the year. There was a Malik Willis sighting when Tannehill got injured, and he really did nothing. He doesn't look that great. And there is that part of you that just kind of goes, they drafted Will Levis they drafted Malik Willis to be the successor. And then they drafted Will Levis the next year to be the successor because they weren't convinced with Malik Willis. So you're like, all right, but if you put Malik Willis in the game, that means you think he gives you a better chance to win than Will Levis. And if he looks that bad, how bad is Will Levis? It's an interesting conundrum. It's like this Titans team does not look good right now, man. But the Ravens, they're 4-2. I don't know if I believe in the Ravens. I feel like the Ravens might be the AFC Cowboys. They're a good team. They're going to win a lot of games. They're probably going to make the playoffs. The Ravens might win the division. I still don't think the Cowboys will. Possibly will win a playoff game. But I don't think I'm expecting them to win 2. I'm not expecting them to go on like this deep playoff run. Could the Ravens go and win the Super Bowl? Sure. Could the Cowboys go and win the Super Bowl? Sure. At this point in the season, do I think it's going to happen? I don't. Maybe if one of them could go to the Titans. I mean, I don't think the Titans would give anything to the Ravens because these two teams hate each other right now. But, like, if the Cowboys went to the Titans and were like, look, you guys aren't fucking going anywhere. Can we have Derrick Henry? Like, if they could swing for Derrick Henry, that would be nutty. I'm still kind of disappointed that the Bills didn't try to trade for him. Now, James Cook has been playing really fucking well, but I was really hoping that the Bills were going to, like, try to get Derrick Henry to improve that running game. But they didn't. Titans also didn't win. It's a good win for the Ravens. The next was the Panthers at the Dolphins. So I remember looking at this game and going like, oh yeah, the Panthers have no fucking chance. And then very quickly they were up 14-0. I was like, that is by no means insurmountable. But they're not gonna do this, are they? Like, no. The Dolphins got this. And then the score was 42-21 by the end of the game. The Panthers' last touchdown being a pick 6. Not off Tua, but on Mike effing White because the game was so far out of reach that we had a Mike White sighting. Carolina's just not good. They're 0-6. At this point, their best possible record would be 11-6, which you never know. Maybe they get it all together and they go on a crazy run, so they are not technically eliminated from anything yet. They don't look very good. The Dolphins had this this really cool moment where Tyreek Hill scores a touchdown, takes a guy's phone and does a flip while recording. Now the recording cuts off during the flip. I'm like, that's just really cool. This dude is living his best life. I'm happy for him. I was like, yeah, like you were in Kansas City and have like an all-time great quarterback, and then you go to play for the Dolphins and you have more production somehow. Like, this is crazy, dude. Tua is balling out. I think at this point, if Tyreek, because what did he have? It was like $160, 63 or something like that in terms of yards. I did the math. I think it's if he averages 108 yards per game, he will crack 2,000. That would be nuts. No wide receiver has ever won MVP. Even the great Jerry Rice. Cooper Kupp had that crazy season in 2021. I think he got 1 MVP vote. The 2017 season, I think it was, is that weird one where Brady kind of won MVP by default because it would have been Carson Wentz, but then he got injured. I think the next strongest candidate was Antonio Brown, before, he completely went off the deep end. But then he got injured, and then after that, it was like Todd Gurley, and I think he got injured. Like, his production just wasn't as big. It's like, well, I guess it goes to Brady now. But it's like AB almost got it, but he couldn't finish the season. Cup with his incredible season couldn't get it. But it's like, if Tyreek has 2,000 yards at the end of the year, could he be MVP? Maybe. I mean, at this point in the season, I think I said a few weeks ago, like, Josh Allen is probably my MVP candidate. Like, he'd be my pick. And I'm like, I could still see it, but I don't know. Wouldn't be Herbert. Mahomes is still Mahomes, but I don't know if he's having like a dude, this is like an MVP. It's like, yeah, he's doing fine. Tua, obviously. It's like Tyreek's quarterback. Like, you could definitely make an argument for him, but Tyreek winning would be really fucking cool. Like, I'm gonna be honest. But 42-21, they doubled up the Carolina Panthers. Go. Oh, yeah, next was the Saints. Texans beat the Saints 20-13. I remember looking at this game and going, the Saints just had a great game. It was probably a fluke because they played the Patriots, but I'm going to ride this wave of optimism. Do I really think they'll beat the Texans? Sure, but the Texans could definitely win this game because CJ Stroud is the fucking truth. There was a play, I believe it was the year the Saints won the Super Bowl, where they were playing Washington. This might be a different year, where Breeze is like, a dude is right in his face. He stiff arms the dude into the ground, throws a ball, gets intercepted, and during the return, Robert Meacham steals the ball from the defender and runs it in for a touchdown. So on one play, Breeze threw a stiff arm, threw a pick, and scored a touchdown. I mean, technically he didn't throw the ball to Meacham, but it's like, the ball never touched the ground, and by that logic, you still kind of consider it. It's like an interception, and so in a sense, he almost kind of did in one play. Like, that's really badass. CJ Stroud didn't quite do that, but in the same drive, he threw a pick and threw a touchdown, because he did finally throw the pick. Of all players, I thought it was all right, maybe Tyrann Mathieu will get it, maybe, sorry, I'm playing with my cat down here, maybe not Zach Bond, maybe Marshawn Lattimore will get it, but Zach Bond was the one to get it. I was like, that wasn't expecting. I did not have that one on my bingo card, but good job, Zach. Good job, Zach. And he fumbled it, and the Texans recovered it. So it's a first down for them. And CJ Stroud just did not give a fuck that he threw a pick. He was still just like, I'm not going to let it rattle me. I'm going to do what I do. And he throws a touchdown on the drive. And it's like, the Saints gave up, they had an interception and still gave up a touchdown on the same drive. That's some Chargers shit. Come on, man. Just, The good thing in this game, the defense played well. They gave up 20 points, which is not a lot in modern NFL. The Texans scored 3 points in the second half. And even in the fourth quarter, the Saints had 2 late game drives where they could have gotten the job done because the defense gave them those opportunities. I think Carr had 300 something yards passing, which is great. We like numbers. But they're inside the 30, inside the red zone, the offense is bad. There was a point where Groupie missed, I think, a 52-yarder, which you get it. It's a long kick. We had you replace Lutz because we want you to make those kinds of kicks. Lutz could make those kinds of kicks, but he also missed those kind of kicks. It's a 50-plus yarder. It's understandable. Then at one point, he missed a chip shot, which, in a game you lose by 7, and you have multiple, 3 chances, because, there was the missed field goal pretty close, and then a turnover on downs, and a turnover on downs, again, all inside the 30. Yeah, if that first field goal is met, you can field goal, and then you win the game on another field goal. So on the one hand, there's the part of me that says, yeah, do I blame Groupie for the loss? No, it's not like the Packers game where it's you make even then, if you made the kick, the defense still would have had to go onto the field and get a stop. and they couldn't stop a fucking soul in that fourth quarter. So, like, the offense played terrible in that game. The defense couldn't do shit in the fourth quarter, and Groupie didn't help. In this one, it's Groupie definitely didn't help, but the defense did what they needed. The offense just couldn't. It's sad. I mean, I'm assuming if you're a Falcons fan, a Panthers fan, or a Bucks fan, you don't think it's sad. Understandable. But I'm like, this is disappointing. This is now we're playing Jacksonville next week, which I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is playing, because I think he's injured. So maybe we can win that. But I don't want Trevor Lawrence to be injured. Like, I'd rather we beat a team at their... I mean, like, a win's a win, but I'd rather we can beat a team at their best than being like, look, we can only beat injured teams in the fucking Patriots. But, I mean, good win for Houston. Like, genuinely, like, you guys were able to grit it out. I've got no beef with y'all. I have a lot of beef with my team, though. After that is Washington and Atlanta. Washington won 24-16. Okay. Sorry, I'm playing with my cat, like I said, but I'm also allergic to my cat. So it's probably not something I should be doing, but I love him. It is what it is. So this was a game where I believe the score at halftime was 17-7 in favor of Washington. Well, yeah, because Atlanta only had 16. Early in the second half, Desmond Ridder throws an interception, which sets Washington up inside the 30, and then they get their only points of the second half. So his first interception, keyword being first, set Washington up for essentially the game-sealing score. His second interception of the day came on the goal line. So it's like you have a chance to score a touchdown, really make a dent, or at least kick a field goal to make things a bit closer. Fucked it up. And then the third interception was the game sealer on the final drive, down 8. So when you look at all this, like, all right, gave the other team points, cost you a chance at points, and then sealed the game. Those are very, very costly interceptions. Now, there were some pretty good throws. There was this one, it was more of just a great catch when Drake London got this like 50-50 ball with both him and the defenders like wrestling each other for the ball. It was like really, really cool. I actually liked that catch a lot. I was like, I don't want to enjoy Falcons highlights, but like that was cool. I don't think I saw a lot of crazy highlights from Bijan in this game, who I've been enjoying like anytime I get to see him, but good win for Washington. But again, I'm like, every week when I'm like, dude, the Washington team like actually looks good. Their defense has like they did some nasty shit. Then they play like shit. They got embarrassed by Buffalo. They got embarrassed by the fucking Bears. And then I'll be like last week where I'm like, dude, they just got their asses kicked by the Bears. They kind of made it close and then they fell apart. Ron Rivera looks checked out. This team is not very good. They're probably going to lose to Atlanta. And then it's like, oh, never mind. The defense balled out. I got 3 really crucial turnovers. So I don't know anything. But another trend broken this week. Desmond Ridder, who was previously undefeated at home, both in college and the NFL, no longer the case. Oh yeah, and then last week, in the previous game, CJ Stroud not throwing an interception. That's another one that's broken. Is there anything broken in the next game? It was Jacksonville winning 37-20. The streak broken in this game was the Jaguars winning at home. Because so far this was their 4th win of the season. They won in Indy, in London, and in London. So this is the first time they actually won in Jacksonville this year. Big Tony is not playing. I think I heard he actually might be out for the year. So it is just Minshew mania down in Indy. Minshew threw the ball 55 times. That is a lot. That is not something like you want your starting quarterback to do. That's not something you really even want an elite quarterback doing. And to the kind of, no one, I mean, I don't mean to be like rude to him, but to the surprise of no one, when your backup throws 55 times, he also ends up throwing 3 interceptions. This was just kind of Jacksonville all day, just rolled over them. I understand that Trevor Lawrence left, I think, in the 3rd quarter. I hope he's doing all right. I hope he's able to play on Thursday. I don't know how significant the injury is, but good win for Jacksonville. It's a division win. They've already swept the Colts like by week 6. They're completely done with this series. I hope it's not a Pyrrhic victory with whatever happens with Trevor Lawrence. After that, we've got Seattle and Cincinnati, where the Bengals won 17-13, which was a tight game like throughout. It was always really close. Dude, the D lines in this game were eating. Like, I saw Burrow go down quite a few times. Geno went down a lot, especially in the red zone, too. The Seattle red zone offense, I watched the highlights. They looked fucking bad. They looked lost. I'm pretty sure Geno at one point like throws in one of his 2 interceptions. He threw 2, didn't throw a touchdown. I think one of them was in the red zone. He was like constantly under pressure in the red zone. The Bengals defense just did not give a fuck. Burrow did not have as good of a game as he did last week, but still had a pretty good game. The Bengals being undefeated against the NFC, that is a trend that did not break. It wasn't one that I picked, so I was like, I know that's a trend. I'm thinking about it, but I think Seattle is a better team. At least today they weren't, and I will own that. And a lot of that is like, man, the Seahawks in the red zone look like the Saints in the red zone, and that is not good. The next game was Minnesota and Chicago. Minnesota won 19-13. This just didn't look like it was a very fun game if you like offense. Like, Justin Fields played terribly. He did end up getting injured. I believe it was he injured his thumb and he left about halfway through the third quarter. Maybe it wasn't halfway, but I know it was in the third quarter, but he had like 58 yards passing at that point. Compare that to the like 100-something yards he had with DJ Moore alone the previous week. And again, this is the Vikings they were playing. Yes, as a division opponent, they know you well. Anything can really happen. This Vikings defense has looked bad. They have looked exploitable, and the Bears just couldn't fucking do it. Another trend was broken in this game because the Vikings fumbled, but they finally won. It is the first game all year where they have won and fumbled the ball, because there was only one other game this year where they didn't fumble, and it was the one where they won. And I was like, I mean, good for them. We take that. You know, offensively, it didn't look pretty for the Vikings. That's what happens when Justin Jefferson isn't playing. I think they officially said that Kirk Cousins is not waiving the no-trade clause. He is going to be in Minnesota all year. We'll see how that goes. I know they play San Francisco next week. It's like, I know San Francisco's got some big injuries right now, but I still don't foresee that looking very good for the Vikings. But hey, I mean, 2-4 is a lot better than 1-5. You could just ask the Bears about that. Good win for the Vikings. Next game was the 49ers and the Browns, where the Browns pulled off the upset 19-17. So another trend, the 49ers being undefeated, broken. Christian McCaffrey did score a touchdown. He was injured and Debo was injured. He did score a touchdown before he was ruled out. So at the very least, his streak continued. The 49ers, I remember saying, I really don't think the Browns are going to win this game. The 49ers are just that good overall. And I have no faith in the Browns offense. No Chubb. I mean, no Deshaun Watson, but also, I mean, I wouldn't have a lot of faith even if he was playing. PJ Walker's playing, and he's not the worst, but I don't think he's elite or anything, and he had 2 picks. He didn't have a touchdown. But I figured the Browns defense would keep it close because they're a really good defense. I was almost correct because the game was close. The 49ers scored once in the second half. They had 10 points in the first half. They scored a touchdown. Their only score in the second half was an interception deep in Cleveland territory. Set them up with a 1st and goal, and then they scored. They could not move the ball in the second half until the last drive, where Purdy is able to get them in field goal range. It's like a 41-yard kick, and it got missed. If that kick is made, then I would have been correct, is what it is. But I'm like, they were, the margin is that close, because I think even the kick was, that close to going in. that's a cool win for Cleveland. And hey, Deshaun Watson didn't play, so I can be happy for him. But I'm like, that's a really cool win for that team. Being able to upset the team that everyone has been saying is the best team in football. A team that people are like, man, they can go undefeated. They look unstoppable. They can be stopped. And it's not just the 49ers being undefeated this year that's beaten. Brock Purdy being undefeated in the regular season. No more. I like that close of a kick. That is what it is. Good on Cleveland, man. Next is the Raiders beating the Patriots 21-17. I remember even saying, I was like, the Raiders should win this game, but saying that I'm actively picking the Raiders to win a football game sounds weird coming out of my mouth. And it sounds like I don't hate the Raiders. I don't think Josh McDaniels is a very good coach, but I'm not like, man, I hate the Raiders. But I'm like, that feels wrong. And even say they're like, yeah, they're going to beat the Patriots. Like, I know the Patriots suck, but it's just a hard thing to wrap my head around, after all these years. Jimmy G threw an interception, which was not his fault. Like, he throws to Devontae, who gets clapped, and the ball goes into the air and intercepted. His pick was not his fault. And at one point, he gets injured, and Brian Hoyer comes in, I think for most of the second half, and the Raiders still win. Mac Jones' interception was 1,000% his fault. Hunter Henry is coming like across the field, wide open. And the ball, instead of going right to Hunter Henry, goes like right here to another player. I think even Romo was like, that is a horrendous throw. Like, that was bad. I don't know what it is or what it was that broke Mac Jones. I don't know if it was the first few weeks of the season and like those close losses. I don't know if it dates back to last season and not actually having an offensive coordinator and how that stunted his development. I don't know if it goes back to that Monday night game in Buffalo his rookie year, where they won the game, but he only threw like 3 passes. And it just kind of showed that, like, yeah, like, we can win. We're going to do whatever it takes to win, even if that doesn't really include you. Or maybe that was fine, but then the playoff game where they just got absolutely demolished by Buffalo, and it just kind of, like, destroyed him mentally. I don't know. I'm not Mac Jones. I'm not in his inner circle. You're like, that dude is broken. I'm not exactly sure where it came from. It might be a combination of all 3. Maybe it's him getting benched for Bailey Zappi last year. Maybe it's the fact that he keeps getting taken out of games. But they had a chance to win. They're down 19-17 late in the fourth quarter. They have the ball. And they go 3 and out. And by 3 and out, I mean 2 plays, and then the third play is a fucking safety, which finishes up the game. I don't think there's really anything else to say. I mean, I remember last week I was like, man, I think Belichick finishes the year. I don't think the Patriots really recover. But I think there is a mutual parting at the end of this year between Belichick and the Patriots. Because I think at this point, Kraft's like, this isn't going well. I need a new coach in here. And I think Belichick wants that all-time wins record. Which is crazy to think about. Because he also almost has the all-time loss record. Like, he could theoretically... This season, he could have the all-time loss record. He honestly probably will. In a couple seasons, he could maybe get the all-time win record if he goes to a team that's pretty good but needs a coach. I think the Chargers aren't a bad pick. I don't know if Dable's surviving the season, so he could go to the Giants. Again, I don't want to get into full speculation, mostly because I did that last week. But it's a thing that could definitely happen. After that is Detroit and Tampa. So speaking of the Patriots, Tom Brady's team, that's a pretty good segue. Detroit won 20-6. This is a game where neither run game could really do anything, but one team's pass game could. And I know this is another game with an injured quarterback because Baker got injured. But I had Mike Evans on my fantasy team and he didn't do shit. It's like, I don't like Mike Evans, but I know he can fucking play some football, and like I needed him to, and he didn't. And again, that's not all on him. When your QB gets injured, there's only so much you can do. This Lions team is good, man. They're 5-1. They beat the Chiefs. That's the Chiefs' only loss so far this season was to the Lions. You've got the Eagles lost. We'll get to that. They're 5-1. The Niners lost. They're 5-1. So they're right there, like in the thick of things in the NFC. It's like, man, I know we all think it's like the 49ers are probably the best team in the NFC. If not them, then it's the Eagles. Do you think either of them want to see the Lions in the playoffs? On the one hand, of course they do. It's the Lions. The Lions haven't won a playoff game in like fucking forever. Do we actually think the Lions can do anything? Come on. But then I'm also like, this team is good. This is a coach that loves his players. His players love him. And they're starting to get it figured out. The offense clicks. The defense clicks. They're good on both sides of the ball. This isn't a team you want to play. They've got, like, it's not just like they've got heart. It's like they've got the talent now, too. They're dangerous. Like, I was joking a few weeks ago. Was it last week or the week before? I was like, dude, a Super Bowl between like the Lions and the Chargers, or like the Lions and the Jets, where it's like a basically two cursed franchises playing. So you're watching the game not thinking who's gonna win. You're like, who is gonna lose? Because one of these two is just gonna, like, it's gonna be a game where both teams are trying to give it away, and it's gonna be fun to watch. And like, I don't know if the Jets can do it. They might. I don't know if the Chargers can do it. The Lions could. The Lions really, really could. And that's a fun world to live in. I think it really is, man. Also, yeah, again, you beat a division rival in a week the Saints lost. Just thank you, MCDC. Also, thanks to Ron Rivera in Washington. Like, I gotta appreciate that. Yeah, and then the next game, so you the Eagles, Philly, and the Jets. Jets won 20-14. Eagles no longer undefeated. Jalen Hurts threw 3 picks in this game, and it's so easy to be like, man, he played like shit. This loss is on him. It is and it isn't. First interception was a deflection. It looked like his guy was like trying to catch it, couldn't quite get it, and then it went to the receiver. I'm like, all right, that's not really on him. The second one, he's being hit as he's throwing, which of course is going to make it off target. You're like, okay, that's also not super on him. But the third one, you're up 14-12. It's 3rd and 9, under 2 minutes, trying to do something, like trying to get the first down to end the game and ice the game. And he throws an interception. He throws it like right to the defender, who returns it inside the 10. Jets score on the next play. And granted, the Jets score on the next play because the Eagles defense lets them. It's like, all right, go ahead and score so we can get the ball back. Put the ball back, the Eagles going to do shit. DeAndre Swift, who was on my fantasy team because he's been killing it this year, did not have a good game. The Jets offense did not have a great game in terms of like their numbers and their yards. But Greg Zuerlein went off. I think he made like 4 field goals. Breece Hall had again, like they gave it to him. But he had a nice little touchdown run. He had some good runs. I've said it before. I love watching Garrett Wilson play football. Just like the fucking catches this dude makes are so good. He's so fun to watch. Robert Saleh was saying after the game, he's like, look, we played this fucking gauntlet of quarterbacks and we embarrassed all of them. Like, I'm so proud of my team. I'm so happy for them. And I'm like, all right, well, you definitely embarrassed Josh Allen. He threw 3 picks to the same dude. That was bad. I would say you embarrassed Mahomes. Mahomes did not look great in that game. And even like one of his big runs that helped the game, there was a blatant hold, and it should have been a 3rd interception, and then I think the holding call on Sauce was bullshit. Like, I'll give you that one. You didn't really embarrass Mac Jones. Like, the Patriots won that game, and he didn't look terrible there. I wouldn't say you embarrassed Dak. I still think the Jets, it was closer than I thought it would be, but like Dak didn't look too bad there. He looked pretty good. Russell Wilson, okay, you did get him from, there was a scoop and score, and he was the one that fumbled it. I'll give you that one. 3 picks on Hurts, and 2 of them I don't think are really his fault, but you did force them. You at least forced that second one, and you definitely made him look dumb on that third one. The Jets' defense is good. They were without Sauce. I think they're without their like 3 starting corners, and they still had a great defensive game. Eagles could not score in the second half. Elliott did miss a field goal. It was like a 37-yarder, I believe, which would have made it look closer, but it wouldn't have actually helped given like the down and distance at the end of the game. I don't think it would have. But really good win for the Jets. They had like I said, they had a fucking gauntlet. It was like, even with Aaron Rodgers, it was like, man, like a 3-3 record after this would look good. And that's exactly what they are. With Rodgers able to throw in pregame warmups, no crutches, no boot, he could come back this year. Like, I don't know if he's coming back in the regular season. Like, that would be insane. But with how well his recovery's going, maybe he does come back in the regular season. Like, I won't be surprised if I see him in the playoffs, which sounds fucking weird to say. God, could you imagine? Like, if it really would be a fucking storybook season. Like, Aaron Rodgers gets injured. The defense holds down the fort. Zach Wilson has this great redemption arc to hold things down until big bro Aaron Rodgers comes back, leads the Jets to the Super Bowl, the second in franchise history where they play a fellow cursed franchise in the Detroit Lions. That sounds like a blast. And it's like, man, I would be rooting for the Lions in that. I don't think I would be upset if the Jets won. Like, I would be devastated for MCDC and the Lions, but I'm like, man, that's a fun fucking storyline. And of course, they would beat Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship because that dude, like, that's just how it works. He's just there every year. Great fucking win for the Jets, dude. And again, Philly being undefeated, that's a streak that's broken. The Jets had never beaten the Eagles in their entire franchise history. That's a big streak that was broken this week. After that, the Giants and the Bills. I thought this game was going to be just destruction. I thought the Bills were going to roll. It's like, I know they have some injured players on defense, but the Giants' offense is dog shit. The Giants have not scored an offensive touchdown in 3 straight games. They didn't have one this game. They didn't have one against the Dolphins. They didn't have one against the Seahawks. They're bad. They're so bad. This game was 14-9, and then at the end of the first half, it was 6-0 because the Bills couldn't get anything going, and like Allen throws a pick. And I'm like, man, let's go, Tyrod, because Daniel Jones isn't playing. He's injured, so Tyrod Taylor, Super Bowl champion, Tyrod Taylor, Pro Bowl quarterback for the Bills previously, Tyrod Taylor, leading the Giants. It's 1st and goal, 14 seconds left at the 1, maybe the 2-yard line. No timeouts. And Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion Tyrod Taylor audibles to a running play, and it gets stuffed. And they don't have time to run another play. 6-0 still at the end of the half. If you throw it, of course, there could be a Seahawks situation. But you have probably a play or 2 you can run before kicking a field goal or just saying, fuck it, we're going to run after trying a few times. Like, we want the points. It was not a good play. It was not a good idea. Dable was mad. It's like, you remember when Dable was going off on Daniel Jones? And he has Daniel Jones as a quarterback. I don't blame him. I don't blame him for being mad at Tyrod for that either, because that was just not a good decision. And at the end of the game, they're down 14-9. If you would kick that field goal earlier, it'd be 14-12. You can kick a game winner to win, but now you got to get the touchdown. 4th and 1. No, it wasn't. No, because it wasn't even 4th down. It was just 1st and goal. 2 seconds left on the clock. Don't get it. But a flag for DPI. Now you're at the 1. Incomplete. But also should have been a flag for DPI. The ref is watching as, I don't remember the name of the defender, but as this dude is just like tugging at Darren Waller's jersey the entire route and is like fucking holding him. He is not looking behind him. He is not playing the ball at all. He is clearly interfering the entire time. And the ref watches, blows the whistle, does this while thinking to himself, I just want to go home. I don't want to do this again. Like, we just threw a flag. Giants, you got your free play. There's literally no time on the clock for this play. You couldn't get it. Fuck you. I don't like that. I get optically throwing, like, the last play of the game, you throw a flag, and then the actual last play of the game, you throw another flag. Probably doesn't look great. People always make comments or like, oh, there's too many flags. You know, the officials are always making it about them. And it's like, well, we don't want to make it about us. But that was clear fucking interference right in your face on a prime time game with the whole country watching. It's such a bad look. It looked awful. I mean, the Giants offensively looked awful the entire game, but it wasn't pretty, but the Bills got it done. Josh Allen had some hero ball throws. One of them was intercepted. One of them went for a touchdown. I'm like, I don't know how the fuck you got that in there to that dude. There was another one that he got to his receiver. That he got to Diggs. I was like, how the fuck did you get that one there? His arm strength is crazy. His accuracy is crazy. But sometimes it can be a bit wild. I love watching the Bills. And like, I want to see Josh Allen win a Super Bowl. I want to see Buffalo finally get one. I really do. But with like their injury situation on defense, like I don't know if it's going to happen. At least not this year. That 2021 was their year. That was the best he has ever looked. That game against the Chiefs was incredible, and they had it won until they didn't. I feel like if they won that game, if things had gone differently in those 13 seconds, they probably beat the Bengals, and I think they beat the Rams. But it doesn't matter. I hope they can get it done maybe this year, maybe another. Again, like, the Saints are my team. If Josh Allen and the Bills are playing the Saints in the Super Bowl, I hope they lose by 30. The Bills, not the Saints, of course. But I'm not thinking my Saints are going anywhere with how they've looked. And it's like, yeah, like I'd like to see the Bills do well. And lastly, the Cowboys and the Chargers. What was the final score? I think it was 20. It was 20-17. I didn't write it. I didn't write any notes on this down because I watched it last night. I just don't have any. I just never bothered to write shit. I just was bored watching the game. Like, there were some good plays, like the Chargers' last touchdown, like the Gerald Everett play. I was like, that was actually, I think, a really good play design. There was this, excuse me, great fucking play by Tony Pollard, where Dak is evading pressure, gets the ball off, Pollard is getting tackled, he spins out of it, and has a huge fucking gain. That was awesome. There is a point where both teams were inside the red zone. I think they were both inside the 10. Chargers were inside the 10, I think, when they did it. The Cowboys might have been more closer to the 15 or so. But both of them went for it on a 4th and 1 and didn't get it. And it's on the one hand, like, Chargers lost by 3. Oh my gosh, if they had went for it, like, if they had taken the points, they would have won. Or it's like, well, or like they would have tied it. Same shit happened to the Cowboys. It was kind of even in that regard. And I don't blame them for going for it. I don't know if I love the play call and like the throw there on that they did on 4th and 1, but it is what it is. What the game came down to, Justin Herbert with the ball was, I think, second and 2. Sacked by Micah Parsons. First time, my face. First time all game he gets sacked. Loss of like 9 yards. Now it's 3rd and 10. Pressure in his face, tries to get rid of it. Gilmore with a diving interception. Is like, that is a good fucking catch. That is a clean fucking catch. Good win for Dallas to get back into the win column. Now, I think it was Skip Bayless posted a video after, because of course he did. Something about like, hey, Cowboys haters, like, where are you at now? Like, come on, like, we won, like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you do realize what happened the week before, right? You do realize that, yeah, I picked the Chargers to win, and I was wrong. I will admit that. You do realize that when you played a good team, like a fellow Super Bowl contender, if you will, you got embarrassed. You were destroyed, and it was pathetic, right? Like, be happy that you won. Celebrate that you won. When my Saints beat the Patriots, and who are dog shit, I was happy because we won. But I also was able to say, I was like, yeah, like, I don't know if it's because we got our shit together, if it's because we played a bad team. It was maybe both, but it's probably because we played a bad team. And what do you know? That's exactly what it was. It's like, don't talk shit that you can't, like, what was the phrase? Like, don't write checks your mouth can't cash, or I don't think that's how that goes. I don't know how that goes. Don't talk shit you can't back up. And as we saw when the Cowboys played the 49ers, when it matters, they can't back it up. Enjoy your win. Enjoy beating the Chargers. I certainly would if the Saints did. But, like, keep in mind what happened is still fresh. That's what happened more or less in week 6. Like I said, a lot of trends were broken. It was a pretty interesting week. I did really bad in my picks. I went 6-9. Who was on bye this week? It was what the fuck does that say? Oh, I don't know what that says. I don't think I wrote it down. I think it was Green Bay and Pittsburgh. I think they were I don't think anyone else was off, at least not off the top of my head. But I completely skipped a game. I skipped the fucking Rams and the Cardinals. Whoops! I think it was like 23-9 where the Rams won. Where Josh Dobbs didn't have a great game. There was this great touchdown, but I think is it Tyrell Williams? I don't remember his name, but like the Rams running back like stiff arms a couple dudes to go into the end zone. I think the Rams are now at 500. Feels like a lot of the league is at 500. Good win for the Rams to keep their stuff like kind of keep their season on track. I don't think I can keep picking the Cardinals anymore as much as I like picking the Cardinals. They've got fire in their gut, but they're just not that good. They feel like the Dan Campbell Lions of a few years ago. It was like they are playing hard. They are not an easy beat, but you're probably going to beat them. But they're playing really hard for their coach. They seem to really like their coach. And maybe in a few years, this can be a squad. Maybe when they get Kyler Murray back, they can really be a squad. I've said before, like, I have a buddy who's a big Cardinals fan. I hope he's got a team to look forward to in the next couple years. But I think that's all for this one, so I'll see you.